The reason brands have gotten so sophisticated in the hotel business one-on-one is because attendees want what everyone else wants. And what everyone wants is everything.
Welcome to No More Bad Events, a fun and insightful podcast for professional event organizers and for anyone at any level interested in producing nothing but the best events. Each week, we'll talk with legendary event professionals to get an inside look into what they think makes a great event. And in the process, we'll draw out insider secrets, non-traditional approaches, and compelling stories from the most captivating personalities in the business. We'll definitely get the skinny on reaching that one big goal: no more bad events. I'm your host, Scott Bloom, comedian, event MC, and now your podcast host. Let's get started. No More Bad Events is produced and presented by eSpeakers, the most trusted, easy-to-use, full-service online platform for finding, connecting with, and hiring the best keynote speakers, hosts, and presenters in the world. With the deepest catalog of professionals available through the eSpeakers marketplace, you can be assured that the speaker you book will be the absolute best speaker based on your goals, bar none. eSpeakers, the #1 way to find your next perfect speaker. For more information, go to espeakers.com. As president of Teneo Hospitality Group, a sales extension group for independent and small brand hotels, our next guest, Mike Schugt, exemplifies hospitality. He's got over 25 years of hospitality experience under his belt, and it shows. He's knowledgeable, friendly, and enthusiastic. 3 adjectives that I think describe me as well. I think I check all 3 boxes there. I'm not trying to get competitive with him. I'm just pointing it out, just in case anyone's curious. But what Mike can do more effectively than me is talk about the current state of the industry and where it's going. Mike shares his thoughts on how meetings and conferences are trending towards a whole lot of more. More time for peer-to-peer panel discussions, more and bigger sustainability and wellness components, and more opportunities to strengthen relationships by building in the X factor, the extra dimension that allows more time for networking. Mike likes to call that space the space where the magic happens. Mike and I also touch upon how attendees seem to want what everyone else wants. And what everyone wants is, you guessed it, everything. Mike also addresses the need to provide differentiating experiences that give it all. From farm to table banquets, to serving cappuccino at breakfast, to building in the most fantastic cutting-edge technologies. Speaking of giving it all, that's exactly what Mike does in this episode of No More Bad Events. He gives us his all, and it's great stuff. So enough with the intro, let's hurry up and get started. So Mike, I know you've been in the hospitality industry for over 25 years. You have this great relationship with meeting planning professionals. You're advising them, at least in the hotel space. I know once a year you have your annual Teneo Summit. You just recently had one in, Corazon? A Corazon Resort in Cabo?
Los Cabos at the Corazon.
Right. And you had around 30 of your people there, along with around 50 plus probably planning professionals. What made this year's summit special, and what did you learn from all the meeting planning professionals who attended?
Well, I think the first thing is, people talk about pent-up demand. They talk about pent-up group business or pent-up leisure business. Some even call it revenge travel and all these things. What I found this particular year is that we had incredible amount of pent-up networking desire. Everyone just wanted to kind of network. And we found that we had some great general sessions and keynote speakers. We had great activities and great food and beverage events and all different types of things to put the hotels and everyone together. But this year, where we got the most is from our panel discussions. And then, we had roundtables of peer-to-peer discussions. And we have trouble stopping those peer-to-peer discussions. They could have gone all day. And I think that planners just haven't talked to each other because they've been so busy. So that was really the takeaway for us. And we look forward to, understanding that. And then for this coming year, even with the other events that we have, we plan to see how we can put that into play as well.
And what were you hearing from a lot of these professionals? What's on their mind? Obviously, coming together must have felt great to finally, see your colleagues. It's one thing doing it virtually, but to actually be in person. And so I'm hearing a couple of things. I'm hearing that the events now take a stronger direction towards interaction, having people being able to network, being able to talk, get information more from colleagues, maybe not necessarily always from the expert that's on stage. So you probably were on panels, you heard from people on panels. What are people focusing on these days? What's on their mind?
Well, there is a lot of frustration, first of all. And I think there's frustration just because the meeting planning community has been working so incredibly hard in 2022. They have the agendas and the number of meetings sometimes that they have in 2 years, people that were really looking to kind of get revitalized, get some confirmation from some other folks. There is, kind of what the unknown is with the economy and so forth. There's a little bit of that. So you heard, people trying to anticipate different things, and they're wanting to get different industries' perspectives on what they see about the economy and the meetings industry. And then there's a lot of frustration, frankly, with some on the hotel side. And, the hotels are doing their best to staff up and to get back to where they were. It's an ongoing process. And in the meantime, planners have a very high expectation level. So, there's clearly some frustration as it relates to working with their partners and so forth. Now we see that it is getting much better, but that was something that definitely came out. And then, negotiations on all areas. It's gotten a lot more intense. And from the meeting planner, what we found was interesting was that decisions now are not just made by meeting planners and heads of meeting planners and people above them, but you're finding it's the CEO and the C-suite is now getting involved in a lot of these decisions because of what happened with COVID, the gravity, the amount of money that is at stake here. So, Scott, there was a wide spectrum of things, and I could go on all day talking about all the great things that came out, and it was just very interesting to see.
And what about from the hotel's perspective? How's the hotel industry shifting a little bit to accommodate, this insecurity? What are they doing to assure these meeting planners, hey, we're going to be here, we're going to be fully staffed, we're going to have everything you need? Are they shifting in any way?
Yeah, first of all, the staffing issues are getting much better. So, for example, in October, the USTA came out and said that the staffing levels in the hospitality and leisure business area is at 93% of what it was pre-COVID. Okay, that was in October, and it's improved now. Now, the challenge with that is that still leaves over like 1.2 million jobs open. Okay, and so what a lot of people are doing is, even though jobs are open, they're still, kind of switching jobs, looking for that perfect opportunity. Okay, but the thing about the hospitality industry is it is the most resilient industry that I know. Okay. And particularly the hotels that we work with are primarily 4 and 5 diamond properties. Their whole ethos is that they're hoteliers. They're hoteliers delivering great service and great experiences. So they work on it all the time, and it's gotten so much better over time. Like I said, things are getting more staffed up all the way around. And, they've also had to pay the price. They're paying people a lot more. They're doing job fairs. They've done all these different things to create, from this massive void that was. But it's definitely improving. And like I said, I think it has a lot to do with the resilience of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, this is an exciting time. We're open. The hospitality industry knows that there are changes going on. But with some of the hotels that you are members of your organization, what have they been doing to stand out from the rest?
The amazing thing about independent hotels and small brands versus sometimes the larger brand that can be a little more cookie cutter is how they do create experiences. And what independent hotels, number one, what they do, Scott, quite a bit, and what they're improving is their brand voice. What is their brand? Each hotel has a very unique brand, and it comes to life in different ways. It comes to life with the scent in the lobby, or the music, or the uniforms, and the experience that they create. It comes to life Many hotels have this historical significance. They really focus on culinary delivery. Okay. And so, these brands are created, and people ask me sometimes about branding in hotels. And I say, the reason brands have gotten so sophisticated in the hotel business one-on-one is because attendees want what everyone else wants. And what everyone wants is everything. Everybody wants everything now. It's like, right. I tell a story about my daughter. My daughter, when she goes to Starbucks, okay, she wants a pumpkin spice macchiato, okay, in a grande cup with an extra domed lid, a paper straw. She wants extra cinnamon on it, and she wants pumpkin spice foam at the end. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And my point behind that is that that's what the attendee wants. Okay, that's what the attendee wants. And so hotels are looking at, even in banquets are becoming farm to table. Banquets are having cappuccino for dessert. These big banquet movements, even in places like the Venetian in Las Vegas or Caesar's Palace, et cetera, they're creating really interesting experiences, differentiating experiences in all aspects of their business. And that's, the game changer for independent properties.
Yeah, it's real exciting. I travel a lot. I'm at a lot of 4 and 5 star hotels in my work as an MC and keynote. And I'm amazed always when I see that next level service, whatever that is, something cool that, I haven't seen before. I mean, I know over the last several years, hotel brands, a lot of them have been bringing you to the elevator. That was a big deal. The reception desk has changed, a little bit more inviting. And, you mentioned Venetian and Caesars in Vegas. I assume you were at IMAX. What takeaways did you get from being at IMAX? That's a great resource. We got to speak with Karina Bauer a little while ago. What did you take away from that experience?
It was a coming out for our industry. It was just a pure coming out. The attendance was great, but more importantly, the mood was amazing. And what I saw is, planners were really interested in learning more and networking and getting back to what they love to do, which is to work and build relationships. That is a fundamental thing in our industry, whether you're a supplier or a vendor, if you're a partner, it doesn't matter. You're interested in developing relationships. And so planners that were there were very excited, and all the suppliers that were there were just equally, if not more, just to sit down and have those one-on-one discussions to see if the business can be conducted and really to check in with one another. So that was a lot of it. And then, throughout, you saw a lot of different creative things happening on the show floor that were interesting. And there was an excitement like I don't think I've seen in ever at IMAX this particular year.
And how do you bring that same sort of excitement to each and every conference? What do you think needs to be changed, at least in the conference space, to allow that enthusiasm, allow that excitement to come through? You talked about, how the meetings are shifting a little bit with more peer-to-peer, a lot more networking, panels. Do you think the event space will change in a way where people are given more time to communicate with each other as opposed to being jammed in a room for several hours?
There are these compulsory things that take place in meetings and in great events. There's always going to be great content, whether it's a company or an association. There's going to be great keynote speakers. There's going to be motivational speakers. There's going to be breakout sessions. And, all of these things, I think, because people's time are so limited these days, are going to be curated in a much more enhanced manner, okay? Because the amount of time that people have to meet is not maybe as great as it was 10 or 15 years ago, or even pre-COVID. We're all very, very busy today, more than ever. So when we get together, it's going to have to mean a lot. But at the same time, I think that you hit the nail on the head. In order to create these events that have the most meaning and that have the greatest value for the attendees, it's really going to continue to require lots of networking, getting together, that peer-to-peer discussion, learning from one another, building those relationships. To me, that's like the X factor. That's that extra dimension of the meeting, because so many times, when we go to meetings, the real magic occurs outside the meeting rooms, whether you're sitting in the lobby waiting for, your Uber, or maybe you're at the bar, or maybe you're having breakfast and you decided to join a group. When those things happen, the guard is down and The formality is gone. And so, I think that's part of it. I also think that in the meetings industry, we're going to continue to see, great things happen where we can help causes. The whole sustainability component, I think, is going to be just massive in the coming months and years. Things around wellness, DIY, things are really meaningful to people because, again, we learned from COVID that life, is probably more precious than we thought. And so we're getting together. I think we all realize that we have an opportunity to make the world a better place. And not to get too dramatic about it, but, it happens one interaction at a time. And so I see that, these are the types of things that we can do in our industry and within meetings to take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's why, I mentioned IMAX. I know that those were a lot of big components of that particular event, that they wanted to talk about sustainability. They wanted to talk about wellness, even the way they set up the spacing, the way they timed out different meetings. I know you're a graduate of Penn State, a big Steelers fan, Pittsburgh, where you grew up. You recently delivered the commencement speech at the hospitality school at Penn State. What was your message to the graduating class?
I had an opportunity to go to Penn State twice a year. And I participate in their entrepreneurial class. They have a colloquium where they bring the students together in a large, more auditorium fashion. And I spend a lot of time not only talking to folks at Penn State, but others about leadership, and with the message that you don't have to be the boss to be a leader, but that you have to lead yourself. Colin Powell says that leadership is the art of doing more than the science of management says is possible. And if you kind of embrace that idea, and when you're doing things in school, that you're thinking about leadership, and when you're in an activity or a committee, or you're working, let's say you're in the hospitality school and you're working as a waiter, how do you become a leader in that organization or in that job that you have? The other thing is really to help students understand how to manage their energy. Albert Einstein says everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. That's the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that. This is not philosophy, this is physics. Okay. And that's on the back of my business card, because it's where we put our energy and our focus that dictates what the outcome is. And I think if students at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21 can understand a little bit about leadership and energy, and also realize, most of them are scared, actually. Most of them are anxious. They see maybe their friend got a job, or they didn't get a job, or they're trying to figure out what to do. When we were in college, we didn't really know what we were doing, at least I didn't. And so just to realize that there are these tools that you can use so that you can look in the mirror and kind of execute within your own self to the maximum opportunity, okay, when you're engaging. And then when you're talking to employers, how do you convey that you're a leader? Because all of us, can get the technical experience. We can get the job experience. We can get, the 4.0 if we work hard enough. But how do we get that other dimension of leadership? And so I spent a lot of time, trying to talk about that. And, it's really rewarding for me because I have an opportunity to talk to students after I talk to them, and sometimes they call me, sometimes they text me on LinkedIn. And so it's a lot of fun.
So, as far as leadership, talk to me a little bit about leadership and the role and the influence event professionals have these days. We talked about the C-suites. They're really looking to them to be somewhat experts, and they can help shape and define the upcoming meetings. Talk to me a little bit about that.
There is, it's kind of like I said a little bit ago, there is a responsibility, I think, because, where else is it that we can convene 500, 50, 10, 5,000, whatever the number is, people together, companies, associations, user groups, you name it, leadership within those organizations are bringing people together. And they're bringing people together for the cause or the message that they have. They're part of a company. This is how we're doing it. This is our kickoff this year. And so the opportunity lies in with, doing great things perhaps beyond the company and beyond even our industry and society, with things like sustainability and bringing forth things that are important to, people in general, and having the influence to do that in a way that is not intrusive. the way that is participative and that allows people that are attending events to kind of pick and choose, A, if they want to get more involved, and B, to what degree. And we always say, when there's, some event, we participated in an opportunity with something called Casa Hogar, which is, for disadvantaged orphans in Mexico, as an example. And it doesn't take much to make a massive difference. It really doesn't. And there were so many needy organizations, and we were all blessed with so much that leadership has, in any area where there's meetings opportunities, has an opportunity to also impact local communities. That's really, I think, where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah, that's exciting, that this realization that you can affect what's going on not only within your meeting, but outside your meeting. I know that people are involved a little bit more in charity events and also doing things for, the communities that they're in. I think that's always a great thing. It gets everyone not only internally to get together, but also to realize that there are other things that are important in life that you can be there to make a difference. When you were giving your keynote over at Penn State, I'm sure you mentioned a lot of people come up to you, but if anyone who just got into the event industry, let's say they've been in just a little bit, and they came up to you and wanted some advice from a veteran, what would you talk to them about?
I always think when you're first starting out, and I'm a little bit old school, and that's only because I'm getting old. I heard Tony Dungy, the ex-coach of the Colts and the Bucks, talk once, and what he thought like great players were about and great coaches that he had. And what his answer was, it was always the people that were anticipating and doing more because they were so engaged. And I think that as a young person coming out of the industry and you're working, how is it that you set yourself apart from everybody else that you're working with? And a lot of times it's getting really entrenched, really engaged, and doing more than the science of management says is possible. It's doing those extra things. It's, participating and, kind of running ahead. It's like what we all done. It's hustling. The one thing that I know for sure is that this is the simplest business in the world. It is about hospitality, period. It's about hospitality. And, if you come in to the environment of work with an amazing attitude, and you are wanting to do more and engage and get involved, that'll show very, very quickly. And the people that have that opportunity can find success early on, maybe perhaps a little faster than others. And, at the same time, I tell them that it's about having fun. When you're first coming out of the business, you don't get paid a lot. Okay. The work's not easy. So try to have fun, but make it fun. And as you make it fun, you'll see, and hopefully people can catch that passion that they have. And we all know that once you're passionate about something, it makes things all that much better.
Have you ever had an experience or been at an event where you've seen it went horribly wrong? The name of the podcast is No More Bad Events. Have you ever been to something and you see they really missed the mark there, or they had an opportunity to really hit this out and they just missed it, or anything just disastrous? Any funny experiences like that's happened that you've been part of or seen?
Yeah, back in the day when I was more of a sales professional and I was doing that at a national level, I would come to different events with different companies, and I would see some really interesting things. But it was more like a slapstick routine where the sound wasn't working, and every time the sound came back on, the person had to prompt somebody else, and then it went back off and it went back on. People spilling things all over each other. More of that. I've also seen situations where entire groups have been actually walked 200 attendees to another property, and they had to actually host the meeting at another place, disasters of epic proportions. And then I've also been part of when there's things at a hotel have broken down and they had to relocate meetings and things like that. So I've seen quite a bit. I've also, when I was vice president of sales and marketing for Hilton in the Southeast and Latin America, I was in New Orleans one week after Katrina hit, and I was in Cancun about 2 weeks after Hurricane Wilma hit in 2005, I think it was, October 22nd, 2005, believe it or not. And the amount of just meetings impact and things like that was disastrous. But again, and having been in Orlando for 22 years and being part of the hospitality industry and all the hurricanes and things, it is amazing to see how these cities and towns and communities came back and are actually better than they've ever been. So, it seems like with every major challenge that comes our way in our business, no matter where it is, we bounce back even stronger.
This really is. I mean, listening to you speak, it gets me excited that there's just so much that's happening right now in the event space, that people are coming back with passion. They want to bring their very best. They want to share that enthusiasm. Often people ask how to make an event a 10 out of 10. In your mind, what does an 11 out of 10 look like in the event world?
It's simple for me. It's really simple because we have to create multiple dimensions. There's dimensions in our meetings business. There's dimensions with meetings. There's, again, the speakers and the beautiful hotel and the great service and the culinary and all these different things. But I think there's two key things. I think one is to create experiences at meetings that people never thought they would get. So whether it's just some amazing event out at the beach or in the back or in the ballroom, just some, various experiences that people can get. Now MSG is building the Sphere in Vegas that's partnering with the Venetian, and that is going to be like something. So I think it's just those experiences that people haven't seen. And then again, I go back to, we've all sat in the general session, we've all sat in these different meetings. How do we get people together and create that extra dimension of networking, of sharing ideas, of peer-to-peer? Because, it's not what you get in your CMP class or something like that. It's that extra, kind of knowledge that you're getting that is so confirmatory or, kind of earth you. Oh, that's how you do it? I never thought of that. And again, it's what any attendee in any meeting, I think, is going to want. And then I think, how do we, like I said before, is, if you want to get that to 11, is there a way that we can start to make a difference in the universe, in the world? And, I do believe that when an attendee comes to an event and they're able to give back, and maybe they didn't think they would be giving back before they came to that meeting, but because of the way the meeting was facilitated and organized, it created an opportunity for that person to come in. They're going to walk away from that event much different than they got there. And that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to have that takeaway as impactful as we can. And, I think those are some of the keys, Scott.
So, Mike, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. It was a pleasure to meet you, and hopefully you'll have a great 2023.
It's been a real pleasure. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really thankful that you invited me onto this, and wishing you all the best as well.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. That's it for now. I've been your host, Scott Bloom, corporate event MC and comedic keynote speaker. And of course, your connoisseur of connections. Oh, by the way, if you're interested, you can book me for your next event on eSpeakers Marketplace at espeakers.com/marketplace. And if you like what you heard, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. If you loved what you heard, drop us a review and don't forget to share with your friends. No More Bad Events is produced and presented by eSpeakers. Thanks so much for listening. Now go out and make your event a great one.